call this meeting to order. Y'all remind me of a group of people at school when I used to be a teacher and principal, but y'all settled down quieter than any group I've ever seen. So it sounded pretty rowdy, and I thought, boy, I'm going to have my work cut out for me tonight. But y'all settling down real well. Now we're going to call it to order now. This meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for December 15th, 2015 will come to order. I ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. The first item on our agenda tonight is one we look forward to each year, and that is the presentation of service awards to several of our employees who have reached another milestone with the city. We appreciate their years of service, and we appreciate the loyalty, the courteous service they've given, and we appreciate the knowledge they have within their respective departments, because the institutional knowledge and moving forward with that is what a lot of it is about. And you are the contacts with the public, and we appreciate so very, very much what you do. So we'll be calling your name in a minute, and I'll ask you to come forward and receive your service award. And if Gina will help me to kind of keep things on a path. Maybe we can get roll on a follow me. Reader and I know recreation. All right, to kick things off, first of all, Jeffrey Doss, who is one of our meter readers with 5 years of service. Jeffrey. Congratulations. We appreciate your service. Next is, with 5 years service, is Trevor Jones with the Water and Wastewater Department. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you. And now with Parks and Recreation, Michael Woodard, also with 5 years of service. Mike? Congratulations. We appreciate it. Okay. All right, now with 10 years of service, I can't believe he's been around here this long, Mark Fields. Our codes administrator. And when I see him and ask him what kind of a day you've had, what do you say?
Fantastic.
We appreciate it too. Always hear that. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Sal.
Okay. And another with 10 years service, Michael Lloyd with the Police Department. Mike? Hand you that. Thank you so much for your service. We appreciate you. And now get with 10 years of service, Don McGee with Water and Wastewater. I should be coming to you. You want me to hold this as you go through the line? I will, and I'll give it back to you when we get through. Bruce, you get it back. Better. All right. And now another water and wastewater employee, Darrell Moore, 10 years of service. We appreciate what you do. Thank you. And again with water and wastewater, Jimmy Smith. Thank you. Appreciate what you do. Okay. Now with our Planning and Codes Department, Gina Head Heber. Well, I came before E, and so I thought it was supposed to go that way, but I'm glad you corrected me. We appreciate your service, and that's 15 years of service. Thanks, Gina. And next, with 15 years of service, Mr. Chance Holmes with the Springfield Fire Department. There you are, young man. Thank you very much. Appreciate what you do. And also with the Springfield Fire Department, Lieutenant Rodney Hoover with 15 years of service. You do. Take care of yourself. And with 15 years of service with the Springfield Police, Scott McLean. Is Scott here tonight? I'm told he's working, so Chief, will you give him his... all right, thank you very much. And with the Springfield Fire Department, 15 years of service, Joey Shadrick. Okay. He is on a call with the fire department. Okay. All right. With 20 years of service, the director of our electric department, Robert Gardner. You lowering rates tonight? All right. Notice he didn't say yes, he just said he's trying. And with Parks and Recreation, with 20 years service, Mr. Terry Martin. We thank you, Terry. Appreciate what you do. And with the electric department and 20 years service, Gary Noel. Gary? Now, when I see this gentleman, occasionally we run into each other at McDonald's. And I always ask if you're keeping Robert straight. That's your job. All right, and you do that. We appreciate that. All right. Now you know, Robert. Okay. Oh, golly. We got to talk about this one a little. With 20 years of service, the city manager, Mr. Paul John Nutting. Thank you so very much. Go through and shake hands with these people you hadn't met before. And with 20 years of service in the gas department, Marco Pardinger. Marco? How are you doing? We appreciate what you do. Thank you very much, Marco. We're getting some people a little older now. So this one is coming to me now. It's got the same haircut that I've got. With Detective Madison Burnett with the Springfield Police Department would come forward. 25 years of service, and I'm going to make him stand just a second. A couple of months ago, he did a presentation for us, what am I wanting to say? PowerPoint, yeah, I missed the first word there. Presentation about what the department had been doing to try to bring down crime,
how successful they had been over a period of time, particularly with armed robberies. And it was a very revealing picture of what's gone on and of a lot of hard work and from a lot of dedicated people. And we truly appreciate what you and all of the others who risk your lives every day do. Thank you so very much. When I first met this next fella, I was his assistant principal and he was a senior in high school. Will Alan Ellis come forward? "25 years of service as Director of Public Works," and he's no relation to Jerome Ellis. And another 25-year employee, and that's Stephen Fisher. Steve? This is the gentleman that looks after Elmwood Cemetery, and we appreciate him so very, very much. Thank you. And another 25-year veteran of the Springfield Police Department, Detective Ricky Morris. Ricky? Thank you so much for your service, young man. Where does this lady work? I mean, I know she's been around. She doesn't? Lady by the name of Carolyn Scott, with 25 years of service. Carolyn is our personnel coordinator. I've been asked her to give me a job for a long time, but she won't hire me. I'm overqualified. I don't know about that. Some people would argue with you on that. Thank you very much for what you do. You've done a great job. Now we're moving up even more. I didn't think this lady was, well, she started to work when she was 18. Susan Tate with 30 years service. She is with our, as a computer technician with us. She works with the utilities, billing, and all of that. And Susan, we appreciate you so much. Your preacher is going to take a picture of you there. Okay. And now going up another notch with 35 years service, and currently with our Water and Wastewater Department, Mary Linda Dean, Administrative Assistant. Now the reason I hesitated with that, she has been with the gas department, the water department, and the electric department. She has had service throughout our utility works. Thank you so very much, Mary Linda. I could also add she's the lady that puts up with Leslie Dean, but I didn't say that, did I? And now, I don't know, it feels to get heavier as these with more service come up here. If Lieutenant Jimmy Grogan will come up with 40 years service with Springfield Police. Thank you so very, very much. We appreciate it. Thanks to all of you, and let's give all of them a round of applause.
Don't have any students hardly. All right, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting, which was held on November the 17th. Oh, excuse me, I missed a public hearing. I can't do that. We do have a public hearing tonight covering ordinance 15-24, which would rezone approximately 1.79 acres of property located fronting Memorial Boulevard from commercial general district to commercial services district. This is the parcel, if I'm thinking right, that is between Cunningham Motors and the Dairy Queen, actually, and Kroger property. Is there anyone here who wishes to make a public statement about this issue? Hearing none, the public hearing is concluded, and we're ready for the minutes now. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion about the minutes? If you favor the approval of minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, say no. Motion carried. We move now to 2.1, the first item on the legislative agenda, which is to take action, or to consider and take action on ordinance 15-22. This is a third and final reading, which would rezone approximately 1.18 acres of property located at 54 North Main Street from R10, medium density residential district, to MRO, which is multiple residential and office district. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion before we conclude this one? Please call the roll, Stephanie.
Snyder. Aye. Mayor Cornell.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Charter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
That's 7-0.
2.2 is also a third and final reading. This is on ordinance 15-23. This would amend the fiscal year 2016 annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general fund and utility operating fund budgets. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? Paul?
Mayor, I would respectfully recommend that we amend this on third reading.
Okay.
Lisa has provided you a copy of an amendment to Exhibit A. All the changes are in bold, and if you get a chance to just scan to the exhibits.
Look at that for a moment, and then I'll ask for an amendment, and then we'll...
What you're going to see, you've got on that first page, mark amended Exhibit A, you'll see that you've got the Governor's Highway Safety Grant, Highway Safety Office grant proceeds of $22,634, which is primarily dedicated to supplies and salaries, overtime. On the police department budget, you see that $23,634 is in expenditures is offset with the $22,634 in grant revenue. Also, we've got general fund reserves. It was 107 in the current budget. It's now been increased $221,038 for the payment of the note to the gas department, finalizing that out. So that increase of $21,038 is shown in the general government buildings expense. And also you will see that it shows up in the revenue side of the gas operating budget, increasing that by $221,038. Also on the second page, you've got changes to the wastewater operating fund and to the water operating fund. These are primarily for items that were originally in last year's budget, but we took a note or we didn't get billed for the, we didn't get invoiced for the item until this fiscal year. So you'll see using restricted reserves and wastewater, $135,049. The total expenses changes in the bottom line are $135,049 in wastewater. And then if you look at water, you've got transfer of $57,244. That was really an increase in the contract with the East Hillcrest tank repair. That was funded out of a note, but we had to use an extra $57,000 out of depreciation to take care of some other items that increase that contract amount. And also, there's $609,437 primarily out of money that we borrowed last year, the note, but we haven't completed some of the projects. One or two of the projects we've been invoiced late. So you see the $666,681 in revenue is offset by the $666,681 in expenditures. So respectfully request that the budget, that the ordinance and the budget be amended to reflect the same.
All right, we have a motion and a second that this be acted upon. Mr. Nutting is suggesting that the items that he had so stated and described be included as an amendment. Is there someone who wishes to make that amendment?
So moved.
Mr. Sneed has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? If you would favor the amendment, vote aye when your name is called. If you would oppose it, vote no. Stephanie?
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Cornell,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Snyder, Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
We have to vote on it as amended.
Now, we're ready to vote on the main motion as amended. Is there any discussion, additional discussion on this matter? Please call the roll on the amendment, on the motion as amended.
Head,
Yes.
Cornell,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Snyder, Gregg, Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
All right, we move now to 2.3. This is ordinance 15-24, which is a second reading, and it covers the item for which we held the public hearing of rezoning a certain tract between Cunningham Motors and the property just south of that. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Snyder, Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg, Cornell,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
All right, 2.4 is a resolution which would authorize an Option 1 death benefit to the spouse of any member of the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System who dies in service after having completed 10 years of creditable service as approved or as provided in Tennessee Code annotated. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? Please call the roll.
Sneed,
Aye.
Cornell, Hubbard,
Aye.
Gregg, Head,
Yes.
Snyder, Trotter,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
All right, 2.5 is a resolution 15-22, which if passed would authorize the execution of an interlocal contract for cooperative purchasing with HGAC BUI as provided in Tennessee Code annotated to allow purchasing of products through the said cooperative as set forth in Exhibit A. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right. Got the second?
We'll have the second one first.
Well, I think we had two in stereo there
Okay.
on the motion. What of you
I'll
want?
be the second.
All right, Greg
Okay.
gonna get the credit for it, and James is gonna be the second.
All right.
Any discussion on this matter?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sneed.
What is the history of, have you talked to any of these other cities that's already in this cooperative to see what, how they feel about being in it? And what, is there, do you foresee any future cost? See, it's no cost to join. Is there any other costs that we're not aware of that may come up?
Somebody else needs to explain it. What I've heard is just a cooperative that you may use. If not, Paul, you want to
Okay.
explain it?
The Houston-Galveston Area Council is comparative to the Greater National Regional Council. It's regional council governments. And frankly, the reason that we're entering into this agreement, there is no cost. The issue is primarily options on fire trucks. They specifically address certain items, and this gives us a chance to go through a national purchasing situation here. Everyone who signs up can go through HGAC, and enter certain specifications and get a bid on a price from major fire pumper manufacturers across the country, whoever wishes to participate in this. And this is really the driving issue here in being able to join the HGAC buy program.
Since these items are more specialized than a lot of equipment we buy, this is, the goal, I think, is to try to get you the specialized equipment at the lowest price. And that's the idea behind it.
Next question
Yes,
is,
sir.
there's no cost to it. Are these people a charity? How do they get paid? What's their incentive for doing this?
Well, I believe there are administrative costs and everything that are associated with running the program, but I mean, you're not paying them a consulting fee as such.
So if you bought a fire truck, there's a percentage of it that would go to them to do the bidding and negotiation.
I believe there's just an administrative fee, is there not?
That's not included.
There is no cost to the city. The vendors that are part of the contract, they pay a fee to be part of this group. So the fees are paid by the vendors that participate in the bidding.
Would the vendor just up the cost of the sale to us to compensate their fee?
We are not charged a fee at all, no.
It's built into the cost of the equipment?
It's not built into the cost of the equipment.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, our last 2 fire trucks, I watched, we got them from an area anyway, right?
We got them what?
Got them from the Houston area?
We got them from the back,
Dallas.
it's in Louisiana. Those are Fiera,
Okay.
F-E-R-R-A-R-A. And a lot of the different companies do get on this list. It's just an idea, because the equipment is specialized, this is done as a collective thing, so you could be in New Jersey, or you could be in Colorado, and you could bid on it through here. Because fire equipment is so specialized that the volume of it is very low. So this is the way that you try to save money on the same thing, is what they're like to. Yes, sir, Mr. Sneed.
I would dispute the city clerk, recorder about that. That's a shell game to say that these people, that the cost is not built into it. They have to up their cost on the sale. But other than that, we should buy a fire truck, and we feel like it's not a good deal, or we're in the process. Is there a way to get out of the co-op? Do you have to use the co-op to buy the fire truck?
We don't have to. We're trying to buy it at the cheapest price.
Right, but I can go to a farm auction, and there'll be no cost to the farmer for selling this equipment, but there's a 2% or 5%, 10% buyer's premium.
That's what, we've already addressed
Right.
that. Yeah.
It's built in.
Is there anything further?
Well, I'd like to say that it's comparable to buying on state contract, and the fact that you're trying to get the volume. That's how everybody saves money, because they're making more sales, and so it's advantageous to everybody. We get a lower price, and they get more business.
Okay. All right, anything further?
I guess what I like is dealing with those who have dealt with the specialized.
You're going to be dealing with the people there.
Who have
You're
done
not
the
dealing with
specialized.
these. This is just the way it is. The price is arrived at, okay, that way.
You can always bid it straight
Yeah, I'm
up
comfortable with it.
if you wanted to, but this is just a very convenient and gets it in the queue a lot faster.
Okay.
All right, anything further? Please call the roll.
Cornell.
Aye.
Snyder. Aye. Hubbard.
Aye.
Charter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
All right, 2.6 is another resolution. This is 15-23, would declare certain items as surplus and authorize the disposal of the same. Motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Snyder. Aye. Cornell.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Charter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. 2.7 is Resolution 15-24. This would amend our purchasing handbook by rescinding page 4 pertaining to the issuance of purchase orders in its entirety and substituting a new page 4 to read as set forth in Exhibit A. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, any discussion?
Good update.
All right. Please call the roll.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Cornell.
Aye.
Charter.
Aye.
Snyder. Aye. Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
All right, we move to the administrative portion of the agenda, and the first one is one we deal with monthly, and this is with the electric department due to the monthly wholesale fuel cost adjustment by TVA. Which way your rates going tonight, Mr. Gardner?
Going down slightly, 0.43%.
Down 0.43. All right, that's our Christmas present from you. Is that it? Go TVA. All right. Any discussion?
El Nino helped us out a little bit. Erratic weather.
75 degrees
Yes, sir.
in December.
We like
Great, isn't it? All right. Any further discussion? Please call the roll. Oh, we didn't get a motion.
So
first.
moved.
We might have.
Second.
All right. Hubbard on the motion and Snyder on the second.
Okay.
No discussion?
Head,
Yes.
Cornell,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Gregg, Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
Craig Riddle with the Gas Department, you're next with 3.2.
If you like his president, you don't like mine.
Okay.
12.71%.
Oh, man, that's, Robert, I tell you,
He outdid you.
you're gonna have to come forward with something. I'm gonna tell you.
Beat that.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
I second.
All right.
I second.
In a second.
I can't guarantee what happens next month.
You think that's a shell game then, Robert, is that what you're telling me?
Game on.
All right, any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Snyder,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg, Cornell,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
3.3 is to discuss and possibly take action on a community partnership proposal by Grace Baptist Church. Who wants to introduce this? The Reverend Steve Freeman. Is it the Reverend Doctor now? You just go by Steve, Brother Steve. We welcome you.
I answer to anything. Thank you, Mayor and Board, and I'll make my presentation brief. I actually don't have one, so if that surprises you as a preacher. But basically, I come before you tonight with a possible partnership for a community event being held in the summer. Freedom Celebration is an event that's held on our campus every year. It's an annual Grace Baptist Church event. However, we may have bitten off a bit more than we can chew, as the old saying goes, as we've prayed through and preliminarily entered into a contract with Charlie Daniels. Now, I say in order to come and be the guest for our Freedom Celebration. I say preliminarily because a lot of it has to do on the venue and location. Obviously, with the magnitude of the fan base of Charlie Daniels and here in Middle Tennessee, along with just the participation in our annual event, along with the city's annual event, and I'll talk about that in just a second, we don't have the space on our campus to host such a venue. So therefore, my proposal, as I sent you a letter for you to consider, would be that the city of Springfield and the Parks and Rec Department and their annual 4th of July fireworks event, if we could partner together and host a community-wide, possibly the largest venue that we've had in Springfield, Robertson County, for our community to really have a community-wide freedom celebration in partnership between Grace Baptist Church, other community partners, business partners, and this board and the city. This event, my proposal would be that this event would take place on July 3rd. That would be a concession to the city rather than July 4th. It would be from 4 p.m. to approximately 9:15 p.m. And we would have children's activities throughout the afternoon. The preliminary contract that we've entered into with Charlie Daniels would have a concert beginning at 7 o'clock p.m. There's a 15-minute concession for us to make a presentation in the middle of his concert. And then his concert in totality would be an hour, 30 minutes plus our 15-minute concession. So at 8:45 p.m., we would conclude the concert and begin a fireworks display. With your help, we would partner with you in these fireworks and the cost of those fireworks, and conclude our event approximately 9:15 that evening. I know that many questions are already in your mind about the logistics of parking. This venue would possibly, we would prepare for 25,000 plus to attend this venue. I have prepared for you a document. I came with a PowerPoint, but sometimes this is easier, amen? I'm still old-fashioned, and I like paper and pen, don't y'all? But I'm going to give that to you, Bruce, if you would, if you take one of those and pass it. But this is kind of an overview of the area and how it could possibly logistically work out there at J. Travis Price Park, where I'm asking us to partner together. There are some changes on this in talking with Terry Martin, Interim Parks and Rec Director. And we can move some things around to make it even more logistically friendly and kind of host everything in one area. But you can get an idea. My main purpose in bringing this to you tonight is to show you that we can host this event logistically as far as the space in the park, and to carry out all the things that we intend to do in this Freedom Celebration event. Parking, I know that that's probably your number one thought when I sent you the letter, because many of you have already expressed that. We have, and again, these are all preliminary details, and a lot of that will be based on your decision in order for us to move forward in this partnership. But over the next 7.5 months, we have time to prepare logistically some areas around town that we could shuttle from into the park. I think that we could probably host, and we'll know this as we explore it more, 300 to 400 cars inside the park, as we would consider that VIP parking. And there would be a charge for that, but everything else there would be no charge for at all for this event. But our parking would be literally around town, around the square. I'm thinking from the Springfield High School area, a loop around the square and down through the fairgrounds with continual shuttles the entire time of this event. Now, obviously, that will take some help from our county, and we would possibly need some buses. We're going to, I'm prepared based on the guidance that you guys give today to talk to our neighboring cities and counties and their mass transit capabilities. I know that Clarksville, our neighboring city to the northwest, they have CTA buses, for instance, that don't operate on Sundays, so they're all available. So I'm prepared to make those calls and to have those meetings wherever we need to logistically work out shuttles from around our town to get folks in and out of the park. Obviously, we can't park them all. We'd love for them to, but we don't have that space. But I believe in the 7.5 months we have to prepare that we can work out all of those logistics. So I'm prepared to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to go around. Ms. Snyder, you want to kick it off?
I guess my first question is to Terry Martin. Can we change our day for our fireworks?
Yes,
We have talked to him, and that is,
yes.
and I assume you're not opposed to the other churches helping with buses.
Oh, no, ma'am.
Transportation.
We're going to need everybody on board. Every church, county, we need every possible, and we'll explore all of those avenues.
Love the
So,
idea, and I know
yes,
that
ma'am.
we've used other churches' buses when we've had events. I think we could all partner, and
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for your leadership.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
thank you for what you've done for the children in the park and fed the ball teams.
Yes,
Y'all done
ma'am.
a great job.
That is appreciated, Steve. Bobby?
I guess my question would be for the chiefs, fire chief and the police chief. Or you think they'll probably able to handle that security?
I think we got 7 months to plan. I've done a Gator Bowl before. I've done a Super Bowl before.
in a place that did not have sufficient parking, so, and did not have sufficient hotel rooms. So I'm sure we can work out the details and the logistics as long as people are willing to get on board. So I don't see a problem from the police department standpoint of putting something together.
Chief, emergency.
It would be where we would have emergency medical responders, which would probably the likely problems that you have on medical issues. We would have the staff that could do that. Also, the ambulance service that would be contacted.
Certainly.
They'd be the ones that have to transport them.
Right.
And there's only 6 in our county. They would have to be notified to Paris or something like that. I believe our department will be able to handle the medical part of the event.
And you did say you were working with the county also as well.
Yes, sir, we'll need, I'm beginning here. This is my beginning point, and then we'll go from here everywhere and anywhere we need to go in order to, but it will take cooperation from city, county, and even our neighboring counties, I believe. Yes, sir.
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
James?
Well, first as a Baptist pastor, ex-pastor, now you're a defender of freedom.
Amen.
I guess I want it real clear that I followed Mr. Daniel over the years, that is there a cost that you're going to expect from us to maybe pay him and his entourage to come?
No, sir. All the contracts that we do, we'll sign on behalf of Grace Baptist Church. The only thing that we're looking to the city and the county is for these extra amenities that we're talking about. Obviously, I've talked with Mr. Martin about personnel from Parks and Rec, but and the use of the park and that venue. But other than that, the cost.
But this one point,
Yes, sir.
him. I want to make sure of that, since he's a worldwide, big-time celebrity.
Yes, sir.
That we don't get hooked in with paying him to come.
No, sir.
That's the clarity. Mr. Martin, you know I am a guru about that park, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're seeing that far back area. That's where the event's going to be.
The Charlie Daniels, the concert would take place on the backside of the soccer fields, with the wooded areas behind it.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to.
The fireworks show would actually take place on the adjoining farm. It wouldn't even be on the city property.
Correct.
And after the fireworks show is over, remember our soccer field, the lighting that we have there, we can immediately turn on the lights for everybody to be able to see, get around and exit out and get to their cars and also to the buses. So there'd be plenty of light.
Okay. And lastly, this may be a healing mechanism to finally bring it together.
Yes, sir.
For this whole county.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Just a statement to say that I appreciate what you're doing, the work that you're doing for the Lord, and I know that it can be pulled off, and it is going to take a lot of people working together to make it happen, but I'm for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Clay?
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Bruce?
Yeah, I like it. Anything we can do to shed a positive light on our communities. What we need to do.
Now, I think what we probably need to move this forward, we would need a motion in a second that we pursue planning and negotiations on this matter, and knowing that we have, as you said, 7.5 months of planning time, and there will be we're going to have to resolve,
yes,
but
sir.
that we agree with the concept if we pass this, and we'll be willing to work with you in this endeavor.
Yes, sir. If it pleases the mayor, let me also say everything that I have proposed tonight is preliminary and tentative. I don't have a signed contract, but again, everything's kind of hinged on what you say today.
We'll have to work through it.
Kind of gives me the freedom to move forward if I know that we can host the event.
And I will point out that Grace Baptist has worked with Parks and Rec on a number of things,
Yes,
from the tournaments, but the baseball tournament and particularly, and other activities, and you've been a very willing partner and have taken care of a lot of cost here, as well as setting a good example. So we appreciate very much what you're doing.
Let me go on record and say we love our community, And we do anything we can to partner on either side in order to see these events and bring people together.
That's right. And it's coming from a Methodist side.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't even hold that against you. Amen.
We'll conserve that water a little more than y'all do.
I'd like to make that motion,
I'll
Ms.
make that motion.
All right, Mr. Hubbard?
I'll second.
All right.
Since, let me add this to it, since I know you have a servant heart.
Yes, sir.
I'm really watching at Dixie League tournament, and I saw that servant heart.
Thank you.
Okay? I love you for that, brother.
All right, we have a motion and a second that we move forward in planning and working together with Grace Baptist on this venue. If you would, any discussion now before we, beyond what we've already had? Vote aye if your name, when your name's called, if you're for this. If you're not, vote no.
Sneed.
Aye.
Cornell.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Snyder.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
All right.
Thank you
very
so
Brother
much.
Steve.
Thank you, Pastor.
All right, we moved to item 3.4, and this is to discuss and possibly act on an appeal by the decision of the Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals concerning the order to remove the structure located at 1108 Batts Boulevard. I think we have a PowerPoint maybe or some presentation from our codes people, and I'll let Mark know. Okay. All right. Mr. Borthwick, you are the attorney representing this gentleman, is that right? All right. We'll make, if this is, all right, you will go forward with this presentation and then you'll get your opportunity. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm on the other side.
The Community Development
Mark
Department.
Keels, our codes administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Community Development Department issued a slum clearance removal, a demolition order for a dilapidated building at 1108 Batts Boulevard. This order was issued September 29th of this year. The order was issued after a complaint hearing and no contact or action taken by the owner, Sal Gurges. And as it turned out, Mr. Gurges returned from a visit to Europe, and the certified letters had been returned. They weren't addressed, and they were returned. He got back from Europe, found the post on the building of the order, and he came to City Hall October the 6th, and we allowed him a month to come up with some information on getting a cost estimate and engineering of what needed to be fixed on the building, and kind of get a cost estimate of what it would take to fix the building, bring it back up to code. And so on October the 27th, with Mr. Borthwick's help, they were running out of time, so they went ahead and appealed the decision to remove it to the construction board. And November the 19th, we had our construction board met here, and the construction board upheld the codes administrator's decision to remove all 7 members present, all voted for the removal of the building. And basically, the construction board found that the cost estimate that Mr. Gurges supplied was not totally complete, and the cost estimate was already over 50% to have the building repaired. And the Robeson County Tax Assessor's Office determined the total market appraisal value of the premises at $87,000, and 50% of that is just shy of $44,000. So that's kind of what he has to work with, is the 50% to get bring this building back up to code would be $44,000. And we're getting our presentation together here. And the building was on Batts Boulevard was built in 1920. It was originally an old creamery dairy. Pardon? The building is about 5,900 square feet, and the utilities have been off for about 4.5 years. It's been pretty much vacant for about 10 years. Really, the last thing that was in there was Doris Matlow had a fruit thing in the front of it, a fruit stand kind of in the front. There we go. This is the front of the building. This is at 1108 Bass Boulevard, and this is the front of the building. The state appraisal, like I said, is $87,500. The slum clearance repair value is 50% of that, so it's not to exceed $43,750. And we're using the state law here for the slum clearance, as it was adopted in 2004, and this is just some language about what it says. And basically, if the building costs to repair the building exceed 50% of its value of the whole premises, then the codes administrator has the authority to determine that that building is not reasonable to repair and should be removed. And that's the decision that I made. And the construction board heard that and upheld that decision. There's some pictures. This is kind of like a timeline that I just went over. Mr. Gurges owns and operates the Sam's Market, and he's known as Mr. Sam, so we call him Mr. Sam. He was out of the country, like I said, so he didn't get our certified letters. His address on Black Patch is not actually a current address, and so those certified letters were returned. I really didn't know who the owner was at the time, so we made the decision and went forward with it. And then it was after all this he came in, and so we were going to give him a time to come up with some values. He did what we asked him to do. He got a lawyer, Dr. Michael Garman. He's an engineer, and he gave us a report that said basically the walls are masonry concrete walls, and they are suitable to hold up the loads for a roof. But the whole roof was deteriorated to the point it needed to be removed, and a whole new diaphragm, a whole new roof structure would have to be put on. And I brought to his attention the back of the building is wood frame construction. The front part is masonry, but it's a long kind of cut up building, and when you get in there you kind of get turned around. So he apologized, and he realized that the walls out by 12th Avenue are light frame construction, and water's been going through the roof and we don't know what those walls are going to be like until we pull those membranes off. You can see the back part of the garage, the studs this is the back part of the wall that is wood frame construction. You can pull the brick out, they're loose, and see the sheeting behind it. The whole roof structure needs to be replaced, and they had got an estimate to do that. The contractor was like $43,000, and there were some brick lintels to be fixed, and so they were right at the 50% to fix the roof and do some work on the brick, but the plumbing, electrical, the finish work on the inside, that was not addressed, and that's kind of a costly thing. So if you was to add that with the rest of it, we're well over the 50%. This is the back part, and this is the roof slanting. This is some more of the back part. This is in the front. as you first go in, the ceilings collapse and the flooring is deteriorated. Those are actually 9x9 tile. I suspect those are asbestos. We didn't do any tests on them, but typically a 9x9 tile is asbestos. It's not a large amount, but that would have to be abated. This is some of the roof up above, just really deteriorated where water's been entering the building. It doesn't have drywall on the wall and on the interior wall. It has this particle board, which would violate the code. This is where water's been running in the building there through a hallway. This is looking up at the ceiling. The deck is deteriorated, ceiling joists deteriorated. This is particle board painted with Romex running on the exterior. So the wiring would need to be repaired. This is where water is coming through the roof and hitting those tile. You can look up through the ceiling and see the metal where the joists are just rotten, and so the whole ceiling would have to be removed and rebuilt. Put a truss, or the engineer did lay out some 2x10 ceiling joists and rafters to do it. This is a space here. I'm not sure what this was, if it was an assembly, when they used it like this. It has murals on the wall. It's a pretty large space. Here's some more back rooms that have this particle board on the walls and the ceilings, and it's actually falling in there. These are some of the wiring on the exterior. These are some of the old wiring up in the ceilings, just rusted, and I believe the building would have to be totally rewired. This is the panel. Here's the meters actually on the inside. It does have one restroom in it, and there's some plumbing and just foamed up where holes were in there. Just multiple places where water has been coming through the ceiling and falling all throughout the building. This is the back part of the building. There's some rooms. I think they were used as, you can see a line right here. Right about right in here is where there is a concrete masonry wall here, and then it runs north, and then the rest of this is wood frame construction for the rest of the way. So there's about 3,000 square feet of masonry walls, and then the rest of the building would be light frame construction with a party wall. I believe the back wall is party wall. This is the brick lintel that's damaged, and they were going to fix some of this brick work. They had it. You can see the sheeting, wood sheeting up behind there. This soffit and fascia have deteriorated, and there's water running in through and down that wall, and I'm afraid that those walls could be damaged. Once if they're open, they're going to have water get in them. Here's the wood sheeting on the side there. These brick were just loose, and there's the sheeting behind it. All the jams, window jams and door jams need to be replaced. It's kind of open. They put brick against a brick, and I'm not sure exactly why, but they did this a long time ago, and there's been water and it's deteriorated. The brick are spalding and need repair. It's open between the brick and the sheeting. You can see it's open to the elements. This is a garage area. This is what brought us attention to it. There's people kind of drinking, hanging out, loitering. They've tried to secure it, then it'd be opened back up again. And then they'd secure it and it'd get opened back up again. These guys just hanging out, a lot of beer bottles hanging out, and someone made them a bed in there. And this is the back wall. This plate is deteriorated. These studs are deteriorated. This is a back wall of the building, and I believe it to be a party wall. This is right on the property line, and I measured the best I could from the 12th Avenue down Batts Boulevard. the property is about 79 feet, and I measure with a tape very close to that. So I think this building was actually built, and this is a firewall, a party wall. And it should have a parapet wall so the fire doesn't go over this roof onto the next property. And I think over the years that was removed and they put metal on. So there'd have to be some work done to this parapet wall too, I believe. And there's just a lot of hidden things that until we really get a set of plans to look at what's got to be done, there's more to it than just doctoring it up. This is the back wall right on the line, and there's actually trees growing out. But the engineer said the foundations are stable. They just need to do some work on cutting the trees out, stuff like that. Basically, what I did was $30 a square foot for this for reconditioning this building. We've got when I actually pulled the tape and measured the square footage, I came up with 5,937 square feet at $30 a square foot. I think that's a real reasonable for, you know, building costs are like $116 a square foot now. So we're going with a $30, kind of a modest building. That's $178,000. And that's 200% of the value of the building and premises combined. And therefore, I didn't think it was reasonable to repair this building.
All right, Mark, I think we've gotten a pretty clear picture of that now. If the board will come back session and we'll hear from Mr. Borden.
Yes, as Mr. Field stated, Mr. Sam really didn't know what was going on with this till about October 6th. And he came into my office and I told him, well, I looked at the paperwork he had and I explained to him, well, if you don't know what you're doing here now, we need to appeal this. We've only got a few days, so we appealed it. So I've really only been involved in this a very few number of days myself. In that short period of time, Mr. Sam has contacted the initial engineer. It may have been a little incomplete in what he presented November 19th when we came back, but also what we were given was a little bit sketchy. There is a very good, strong foundation under part of that building. He wants to fix it. I believe he has the resources to fix it. I spoke to at least Mr. Yates with Edwards Home Improvement. He met us down there one day, and I think he's talked to Mr. Fields. And, you know, I spoke to him this afternoon late. And he was telling me that, you know, the repairs, as he discussed with Mr. Fields, you know, said, well, it might take $100,000 to fix the building. I asked Sam on the way over here, if you've got $100,000 to spend on it. He said he does. I think, and when we were here November 19th, all we were asking for was a chance to come up with a plan, some figures, and see what Sam wanted to do, see if he wanted to tear it down, wanted to try to fix it, and he would like a chance. You know, that's all we're really asking for here today is you just give us a chance to come back with a detailed set of plans, show you what he wants to do, fix it, bring it up to codes, and fix the property. Okay.
Thank you, Lee. All right, you've heard the recommendation, and you've heard the views of the person who owns the property who wants to try to salvage it. We're going to need a motion in some direction here.
So moved.
I want to know what is your motion to support the...
Well, motion was get it on the floor.
Well, let's start it with,
A discussion.
well,
It's
what's
in my ward.
before you, okay, but what's before you is a ruling by the Construction Board of Adjustments in the Field and Appeals wanting it to be removed. So do you want to support that?
I want to support that as an alderman of the ward. It's in my ward. I'm
All right,
watching
we'll
this.
make that motion then.
Okay, I'll make that motion to remove it.
Okay, and is there a second
As
to
directed
that?
by the construction.
And is there a second now to that?
A second.
All right, now, it is on the floor, and that's the issue we're debating. Okay,
Can I,
let's hear from you since it's in your ward.
I've been watching this for years, no disrespect, and it has really troubled me. I mean, this big empty building, and I really haven't seen any usage in over 5 or 6 years. Am I not correct, sir? Are you Mr. Sam? Yes, sir. 5 or 6 years, or maybe a little longer, I haven't seen anything in there. Only thing I saw was, our homeless and our derelicts coming in and out, and it really bothered me, okay, because I'm the alderman of that ward. So since this gross neglect, okay, we have to follow the law, okay, and so I'm gonna have to agree with the decisions from the construction board.
All right, are there others who wish to comment on this?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gregg?
I would rather see it fixed if he can do it in the time frame of what codes or this board would allow than I would to see a big empty lot that is torn down and nothing being there, because it would be a tax base there for us if the building were fixed and he spends $100,000 on it and gets it where it looks nice. I would rather see that than just see another empty lot sitting there that probably nothing would be built on.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'd just like to make one more comment, and I can understand what you're saying. Are we getting a fact that you will spend over $100,000 to bring it up to standards? You do have the resources to do this. Mr. Fields, give me some guidance.
I will have, he's only on this building 1 year.
Regardless of only 1 year is the fact that it's in violation. Okay, so either you're going to step up to the plate and spend over the $100,000, or else we have to do what we have to do. Sir, will you?
Mark, just give us the law on that again. Just that statement, if you'll do that, please.
Yeah, I would like to let everybody know that Mr. Sam has only owned this for a short period of time, a little over a year. I didn't know who owned it. When we went to, well, I did know Ty Watts and maybe some other investors owned it at one time a few years ago. And I approached them and told them, some property maintenance need to be done on it. Didn't have a condemnation or anything like that, just telling them property maintenance needs to be done on the building. So as we're going through our work, now the time it's so far gone, it need to be addressed this way. So we do a slum clearance, and the way the law is, it really doesn't give, it's either 50% of the value of the whole premises. If it costs more than that, it's not reasonable to repair. And that's what we've done throughout since I've been administrating this code. It's even Mike Ramsey was here. Mike and Carol Ramsey appealed to, they wanted to, their house was exactly right across the street from this building, I believe. And they were willing to spend all this money to fix that building. But the way the law is written, it says if it exceeds more than 50% of its value, it shall be removed.
The damage does that?
Yes. So when I look at the building, first of all, I look at it, if there's any historical value for the building. That's going to be something different. So we're going to use a different avenue to correct those things. But a building that's just been sitting there for some time, it's dilapidated, we've got problems with it. Once I make a decision, then I need to continue that same path and not try to say, oh, I'm going to allow you to fix it, but I'm not going to allow you to fix it. I've been trying to be very conscious of that and apply that the same throughout.
Thank you very much. Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. I think one of the problems is that we keep these bad buildings on life support. And what I'm concerned about, I mean, the law is straight up, but having him spend that much money and still not able to meet code. I mean, we really just have to start discouraging people from investing in these really bad properties and thinking they're going to be able to occupy them without meeting codes. And so I think, you know, to be consistent with what we've been doing, the state law is pretty straight up, and we've adopted that. And I would recommend that we support the decision of both the Codes Administrator and the Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals.
All right.
I need to say this, though. If you spend that kind of money to bring it up the codes, then what are you going to use it for? What's your intentions?
Mr. Borthwick.
What he's looking at is to fix the front part for a store, possibly, and the rear part for storage. And so I spoke to Mr. Yates, and we talked about $100,000, we'll bring it back up to plumbing, electric, and all.
So he recoup his money if he spend, the way I'm looking at it, he got to go probably around $200,000. So he has a plan to recoup $200,000.
Well, and another issue is, and I can't really address you on this, but if this is torn down, is this lot going to be totally useless to him? I mean, is the road frontage, the variance, the grandfathered in, he's going to have a property that's very well be just, as you stated, Mr. Gregg, just another empty lot here in town from here on out.
Okay. Thank you, Lee. Paul?
Well, I think you have to look at what's happening on that end of the city. 12th Avenue, everything was removed. What we're creating here is a new commercial district for new properties that can go in here. And I think it might be worth his while simply pay, you know, eat the loss and then come up and be able to sell it and as that whole area of town becomes available for redevelopment. And it may take a while, but if you put everything together and look what's out there, I think that's got great potential for redevelopment.
All right. Is there anything further before we vote?
Okay,
Thank you, Lee.
I have one question. I want to make sure I understand. So the value, the state's appraising it for 87. According to the state law, the slum clearance, he can only spend 43.
That is correct.
To get it up to where it needs to be, the 43.
That is what we've been told, yes. Okay.
According to the law. According to the law.
But if you spend more than half its value, it would not be reasonable to repair it. And that's what the board deemed, the construction board deemed, it would not be reasonable to repair it.
43 would not get it up to standards.
Okay. Anything further?
I would just add that I believe all of that, those calculations are just used for a sort of a check system on, so the city just says, well, we're going to tear down this one, this one, this one. We're going to use this formula and see if this is reasonable. Are you acting reasonably? And I think if Mr. Sam decides to push this and show that he has the money to spend, I'm not sure that this will hold up.
Okay.
I don't think it's been tested.
Mr. Mayor, what kind of timelines are you looking at on repairing this, spending this money to repair this place?
In the next year. He can't start spending until he knows that, right now can't do anything. He can't even start tearing it down.
All right, I think we've heard both sides of this reasonably. The matter before you is to support the Board of Construction Adjustments and Appeals. If you favor that and not allowing him to spend, you vote aye. If you oppose, vote no. Is everybody clear on this? Anything else you want to ask or say before we vote? Call for the roll.
Cornell,
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Charter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
No.
Head.
Yes.
Passed 6-1.
All right. I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back to hear the engineering report. 3.5.
That was in that one.
I'm going to call on Roger Lee Masters, Director of Water and Wastewater, who will introduce our next presenter.
Thank you, Mayor. Last month at the November business meeting, I came before you and gave you a brief presentation on long-term, not only long-term planning, but the operation of a wastewater treatment plant. Long-term planning for wastewater is different in many aspects than it is for water. Water, you build what you need. Wastewater, you build not only what you need to serve people, but you also have to build it to protect the environment. And I said last month that any time that somebody approaches the state with a desire to expand their sewer plant, one of the options that the state requires them to look at is land application. And the state generally says that the cost effectiveness of a land application system is within, say, 10% or so of a direct discharge, like to a stream. You got to go with land application. And that's what Jacobs did. Their cost effective comparison came with it very close together. So they said, we believe you can find 800 acres within a 5-mile radius of Springfield, and you can increase. You can't increase. We would not increase the plant capacity beyond what it is at the Sulphur Fork Creek, but we would have to put some more features in there to make sure to meet some tighter limits. We are having a significant impact on the Sulphur Fork Creek during the summer. Our wastewater discharge comprises the bulk of the water in the Sulphur Fork Creek from our discharge point on down. So that the Jacobs says maintain 3.4 where you are, upgrade some of the features to where you can meet future limits, and they really don't know what those future limits are, plus buy your 800 acres and do your thing out here with land application. Well, like I said last time, we've had some rather significant sinkholes open up and cause some significant damage. Causes us to really question whether or not we would be able to find 800 acres within a 5-mile radius of Springfield that would not, in the future, be subject to sinkholes. Because if you have a sinkhole open up and you put land application there, it's going to go right down into a sinkhole, and it could affect somebody's wells or groundwater, or it just would not be a good environmental situation. So Andrew Lynn was with Garver Engineering, and he came up with a proposal to reevaluate based on some treatment processes. I came with a recommendation to the board to hire Garver Engineer, and y'all approved it. Andrew began his process. He left Garver and came on with Heathcote and Davis. Garver and Heathcote agreed that he could use his work he did with Garver with Heathcote to kind of continue his evaluation. So anyhow, Andrew has done some evaluations. The big thing about wastewater treatment on a stream that's severely impacted by a wastewater treatment plant is the impact that, now I talked about nutrients last month. Nutrients in a sufficient amount will cause a stream to degrade. Now, if you get nutrients, basically nitrogen and phosphorus in an elevated level in a stream, it will tend to suppress the animal life, the fish and the snails and all that sort of stuff, and will tend to increase the proliferation of plant life, basically algae and that sort of stuff. Now, summers are the worst time because that's when you have the warmest temperature. Algae grows like crazy during the summer. And every now and then you'll hear, especially like from places like Clarksville, where they have taste and odor in their water, that comes from algae whose growth is promoted by the nutrients that are in the Cumberland River. And it's either nitrogen or phosphorus, and in this case for Sulphur Fork Creek, the state says Sulphur Fork Creek is impacted. It does not meet its limit for phosphorus. Now, they don't know where the phosphorus is coming from, but the initial draft permit from the state back in February said for the first 2 years you can operate as you are as far as the limits that you're putting out, but on month 25 you have to meet a phosphorus limit of 1. So I wrote a 3.5-page letter. I said, I don't want a phosphorus limit of 1 if that's not going to be protective according to your list of impaired streams. You're saying this stream is impaired for phosphorus, this is category 5, it requires what's called a TMDL, a total maximum daily load. Now, a TMDL is analysis that the state does on all of Sulphur Fork Creek, evaluates the different sources of phosphorus and nitrogen if necessary, and then says, you and you and you and you and you, here's what you have to meet as far as limits, here's what you have to meet and you have to meet. And that's what I'm looking for. Now, the one may or may not be protected. Now, Andrew's original concept was a phased approach. Do some construction to expand it to 5, 6, 7, whatever is MGD, with the idea of meeting a phosphorus limit of 1. The state would give us a permit for that, but if that was not enough and the TMDL said you got to go lower, then there would be a second phase we'd have to do. So I told Andrew, and I met with the state 4 days after we had this meeting in November. They have agreed to remove that phosphorus limit. So we're going to be able to do as we are through the term of this next permit, which will expire in December 2019. What we will have to do, and I've agreed to do this, is to optimize the operations of our wastewater treatment plant. Do what we can to make it most efficient at removing nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus. Now, there are some treatment processes you can do on nitrogen that will not work on phosphorus and vice versa, and we're well aware of those, and Andrew's going to be talking a little bit about those. But basically, we're going to have to do this plant optimization. We should not have any unmeetable limits in a permit from here to December of 2019. After that, we'll have to see. Now, we have to do some stream evaluation, have to do some stream monitoring, have to determine some of the impacts that we're doing, and we've agreed to do that for the next term of this event. Anyhow, Andrew's going to make his presentation now.
Don't have to get
I bet you I will.
You may be able to just sit in that.
I think I'm going to be too bad.
All right. I don't know if I'm blocking anybody, or should I take a seat? Or okay to stand, or everyone can see that? All right. Thank you, Roger, and I'd like to thank the city and Roger and your staff for the help you guys gave us to and giving us this opportunity to put this report together for the city. Let me get my computer up here. All right, starting off. Okay, a little background. Roger gave you some of that. The city did a study, long-term water and wastewater plan in 2013. Wastewater plant recommendations in that study were to keep the existing treatment plant in the outfall to Sulphur Fork Creek to treat flows up to 3.4 MGD, which is about what you guys are doing now. And that would possibly push maybe some of the upgrades and treatment down a little bit till they got new permit limits. Build a lagoon treatment system for any of the flows above 3.4 MGD. Acquire 800 acres of land within a 5-mile radius to create a Springfield system for effluent disposal. Total capital cost for that, it was option 2 in the report for the wastewater plant. It was $74.3 million. A couple more, a little bit more background. some of the issues that sort of came up when we started to look at the recommended alternative. Number one was finding the available contiguous land within a 5-mile radius. If you could imagine, it would be, hypothetically, it'd be nice to have a 800-acre parcel, one place. This would reduce the amount of piping and pumping between different sites. But the reality is it's going to be multiple parcels and may have to pump water from site to site. Number two, you'd be running 2 separate wastewater treatment systems, 2 different plants. You'd have a lagoon plant and you'd have your existing plant. This would be splitting operator time. Operators would have to learn 2 different processes. It's a little bit more difficult, a lot more operation and maintenance. And then as time went on, we began to realize the upgrades to the existing process would probably be required more sooner than later, that TDEC was really starting to focus on nutrients. A lot of the different treatment plants in the area are being hit with nutrient limits. I don't know if you've read in the papers, City of Franklin, and the issues that they've had trying to discharge to the Harpeth River. But probably one of the biggest issues with that 800-acre spray field is the karst nature of Robertson County. You guys have the distinction of having the highest instance of sinkholes of any county in the state. So you got that. There's also probably one of the most significant things is potential for drinking water well contamination. The fractured nature of the rock here in Robertson County, a lot of folks that have their own well system for their drinking water tap into those fractures for the water. If you had a spray field and that effluent got into the fracture, these would be large cavities. These would be sort of like a highway versus a little city street. They could be pulling reclaimed, or not reclaimed, but effluent water within a matter of minutes into their drinking water system. And then also, right about the time we were talking about doing the study, there was a lot of sinkhole activity. Cooperstown, I believe, lost their wastewater plant lagoon to a sinkhole. The Corvette Museum in Bowling Green lost a section of that to a sinkhole. And then Springfield itself, the sludge storage pond at the water plant, the sinkhole opened up. So you can kind of see as these, it's hard to predict where they are. You're talking about taking an area that's already has a high incidence of sinkholes and then loading it with additional water, probably getting more sinkholes to appear. And once you get a sinkhole opening up, TDEC would then classify that as an injection well, basically because you're injecting reclaimed or treated effluent into the groundwater system as opposed to letting it percolate through an irrigation system. And you'd have to basically find out how much of the area is drained to that sinkhole and kind of restrict any irrigation until you repaired that sinkhole. As I said, this is a little background information. This was a study that University of Tennessee did. They took GIS data and evaluated number of sinkholes per county. And Robertson, you edged out Montgomery by I think about 20% more. So that's 3,600 sinkholes that they found in Robertson County, and got the highest amount in the state. So when Roger and I began to talk about, maybe this isn't the right direction to go with the spray field, I said, well, why don't we take a little bit closer look at expanding the facilities at the existing site. Let's utilize the existing infrastructure to the greatest extent possible. Let's take a look at some of the tankage. Can we repurpose it for different uses? Create some flexibility with our plan, because we didn't know, and we still don't know, what the final limits are going to be from TDEC, so that if they did get more restrictive, we could go down that path and we wouldn't be kind of throwing money down the sewer. And then bringing the capital costs below the projected 58.4 million. That was the capital costs for option one, which is expand the treatment plant in the original Jacob study. So let's see if we can't sharpen our pencils and see what we can do. Now we wanted to be able to kind of dovetail this study kind of back into the original work, because there was a lot of good work that was done in that Jacob study. We looked at their their wastewater flow projections. At the time, current plant flow was 3.44 million gallons a day. We took the 20-year projections from the existing plan, and so we looked at our 20-year plan for the expansion at the plant was an annual average daily flow of 4.2 million gallons a day, a maximum month daily flow of 6 million gallons a day, and then a peak hour flow going through the plant of 18 million gallons a day. So we basically used the same flow projections as Jacobs did, so that we would be able to kind of match up to their report and not change too many variables. For the loads or the wastes that are coming in to the plant, Jacobs had used data from 2005 to 2010. We looked at additional data from 2011 to 2014. We saw, just as a note, some of the pollutant concentrations were actually decreasing in the later data. This is prior to the starting of the I&I program and getting some of that extraneous water out. So there may have been some dilution in the more recent data. We used the more restrictive, the higher concentrations in our study. We took some samples in June for phosphorus, and we used a concentration of 8 milligrams per liter for influent phosphorus coming into the plant. We also matched up with what Jacobs did because we used a standard concentration for a medium strength wastewater of 25 milligrams per liter of ammonia, instead of what's actually coming in the plant right now is 12.3. The reason we did that is that we knew that the city would be taking out some of this groundwater and rainwater, which is currently diluting the strength of the ammonia coming into the plant. And so for planning purposes, we thought that it would be best to plan on that concentration is going to increase in the future, because you're going to get more and more of actual wastewater as opposed to rainwater and groundwater coming in the plant. And that TKN is total individual nitrogen, so that's total nitrogen coming in the plant of 40. So that's based on the ammonia of 25 coming in, which is just a standard number for a medium strength wastewater. Alternatives that we looked at, your existing plant takes ammonia and converts it to nitrate, which is a less harmful form of nitrogen to fish and other aquatic animals. Since you guys already can take ammonia and convert it to nitrate, we looked at strictly biological processes for nitrogen removal, which is taking that nitrate, then doing another step to strip the oxygen off the nitrate and convert that nitrogen to nitrogen gas, which then basically just kind of boils off into the atmosphere. So there's biologically active filters, that's one way of doing it, or creating anoxic selector zones. For phosphorus removal, we looked at two different processes. You could either do it chemically through the addition of aluminum or iron to get the phosphorus to turn into a soluble form so that it kind of drops out of the water. And most of that will happen in the secondary clarifiers. If the limits go a little bit further, you may have to go to filters to take out some of that really fine particulate phosphorus to get down to a low level. We also evaluated, there's a ways by creating different zones within your plant to use the existing biology in the plant. Certain organisms can use phosphorus and then take it up later, take it out of the water. So we looked at using what they call anaerobic selector zones, And those organisms are PAOs, phosphorus accumulating organisms. I'll try not to get too much into the science because I don't see any coffee around here. All right, so these are your existing facilities. Let's see if I can get I'll go to this. All right. Oh, nope, that's the wrong way. Let me see. All right, go back one. All right, these are your existing facilities. On the left, wastewater comes in. There's an influent lift station, which is basically just a big screw that lifts water from the ground up into what we call the headworks. There's a screening facility which takes out some of the large chunks, pieces of wood, anything that may damage processes down the line. Then it goes into an aerated grit removal system, which uses air to separate some of the sand and some real fine particles out of the wastewater. Goes to flow measurement. So this is on the left-hand side. Passes to a flow splitter, goes to those two circles there, which are these are your aeration basins. From the aeration basins, this is where you get your carbon waste taken up, and also your ammonia converted to nitrate. They pass on going to the right to two clarifiers. From the clarifiers, that then passes over some weirs to UV, and then post aeration. So, and then out to Sulphur Fork Creek. At the clarifier step, you're getting some RAS, return activated sludge. So this is taking the organisms that settle out in the clarifier and putting them back into the aeration basins so they can get more waste and utilize it. And then WS is waste activated sludge. That's going out of the system. So you're constantly growing these bugs. You have to waste some of them out so you don't get kind of an overpopulation situation. You want to keep this nice steady state. The waste activated sludge goes to your aerobic digester, and there you've got these bugs. They're full of food. You kind of put them on a treadmill. They utilize their energy and they degrade a little bit, and then you take them to a belt filter press, squeeze as much water as you can out of them, and they go to disposal. Now the return activated sludge, the RAS, goes to a RAS pump station, which is actually another set of screws, and these screws lift these organisms back up and put them into those two aeration basins. That's the existing system you have right now. I think it's showing my pointer. Oops. But let's see if I can. All right, we'll try this. This is an actual pointer. All right, that is your influent pump station. This is your headworks right here where you've got screening and grit removal. And this is your return activated sludge pump station. These are your two aeration basins here. These are your clarifiers. So this is where all the biology's, all the bugs and the organisms and single cells, they've all got the food, and then they basically sink to the bottom. You have the clear water goes over the top of these clarifiers, goes to UV disinfection that kills any of the viruses and pathogens, and then it gets re-air, and then it by gravity falls to Sulphur Fork Creek, which is out here. Portion of the sludge is wasted to this. This is your aerobic digester, and then it's sent over here to the belt filter presses where the sludge goes out. That's just a kind of an overview of what you have right now. All right. Okay, as Roger said, we looked, originally our idea was to go into phases, and we had kind of like a phase 1 was to get it down to total nitrogen of 8 and a total phosphorus of 1. And then if it got more stringent, that 8 and 1 is sort of represents the middle of the road. I think that would have met the limits that you were offered up in the first draft permit. So that's kind of where the state's been trying to take people, but we all know the ultimate limits Level 2 is a total nitrogen of 5 and a total phosphorus of 0.3 milligrams per liter. That would represent basically the limits of technology right now, or reasonable technology. Getting it down any further than that is sort of, NASA science. You'd have to use membranes, and it'd be a little bit unreasonable to do, and it's not. That's the best available technology right now would be that 5 and 0.3. Reaching that level 1, that 8 and 1, we looked at what process could we use to maximize your existing facilities. And we looked at this modified Ludzak-Edinger process, MLE. Ludzak and Edinger, I believe, are professors at University of Cape Town in South Africa. And they came up with this process where we're basically creating a zone where there's no oxygen, but the bugs in the plant are able to use nitrate that you produce at the plant. And with that, they'll basically off-gas nitrogen. So in the anoxic zone, you're getting rid of nitrogen. In the aerobic zone, you're getting rid of your carbon wastes, and you're taking ammonia, turning it into nitrate. So and then we have a mixed liquor return, so we're constantly bringing that nitrate back to the anoxic zone to release the nitrogen. It passes on to the clarifiers and then to the effluent. Now, there's no biological phosphorus removal in this process. To remove the phosphorus, we would utilize the clarifiers, and we would use those iron salts or aluminum salts to get the phosphorus to drop out of the solution and fall in secondary clarifiers. We also put in this option some filters on the back end, so that we could catch any, you'd have constant monitoring, and the technology has reached the point where we can monitor online for nitrogen and phosphorus. And we would use denitrification filters, which could polish the effluent a little bit further if we had a breakthrough coming through the clarifiers. And then also those salts as an additional step, if they pass through the clarifiers, we could take them out with filters. One of the issues we found is to expand to the 4.2 million gallons a day, the overflow rate on the clarifiers, we would need to add an additional clarifier. And also we would recommend rehabilitating the existing clarifiers to make them more efficient. Right now, the water that comes in is fed from the outside of the tank and is collected on the inside. We would flip that around. We'd have the mixed liquor come out through the top in the center and remove the clarified water on the outside. You've got a lot more surface area if you go to the outside. It's a more efficient process. Lot more efficient at taking out the smaller particles. You can see we'd have new structures on the left-hand side of those two blue circles, which are these are your existing aeration basins. We would keep those. One thing we found talking with staff is that your existing headworks represents a bottleneck. You can only push about 9 million gallons a day through that existing headworks before you get spillage over the top of the structure. Okay. All right. Well, basically, we would look at putting a new headwork structure. Those anoxic zones, which are to the left of the blue circles, that's where we'd get rid of nitrogen. Keep the existing aeration tanks. Rehab the clarifiers, new clarifier. Also, to put the filters in, we don't have quite enough room. We'd have to build a new UV structure going forward. So that's the MLE process. And this is what it would look like. I said there's your anoxic basins to get rid of nitrogen. There's your existing tankage. We would build a new aerobic digester to add to this one, and a new clarifier, and we put in filters and move the UV and have new pumping. Another way of doing this, removing the nitrogen, is instead of having the filters, getting that level 1, is putting in a second anoxic anaerobic zone following the first two. So, but this would involve building new process tanks. And this is what it would look like. Again, we'd have a new clarifier, we'd have filters, we'd move the UV, a new headwork structure, and all new process tankage. What we were able to do is salvage the one of the aeration basins we were going to take and use as a new aerobic digester at the plant. And that's kind of what, if we wanted to go to that level 2, getting down to the 5 and the 0.3, you could take that same process, add filters on the back end to get rid of more of the nitrogen and the phosphorus, and you'd be able to meet those stage 2 limits. This is a 4-stage with filters. We get us down to level 2. If we build that new tankage structure, we could utilize a portion of it to create what we call an anaerobic zone. This doesn't have any oxygen or any nitrate, and the bugs in the system would then start to take up the phosphorus, the PAOs. So this would be biological phosphorus removal, and its advantage is that you use a lot less chemicals to settle out all the phosphorus, because basically the amoebas work for free. So using the same tankage, we could create a zone in there to biologically take out the phosphorus. So this is what that would look like. Yeah. So this is our 5-stage process. Again, new clarifiers, new tankage. You'll just see in the left side of that rectangle, we've created the anaerobic zone. This is what the plant site would look like. We've got new pump station, new headworks, splitter. These are our new process basins. We're reusing this aeration basin as aerobic digester, another aerobic digester, 3 new clarifiers, UV and filters, UV, and then pumping out to Sulphur Fork Creek. Okay, this is what everyone wants to get to, capital costs. These are all items that are common to all 4 alternatives. They could be kind of gotten to ahead of time in preparation of building some of the improvements before TDEC starts to come down with you on the nutrient levels. As I said, infant lift station, headworks, and a RASWAS pump station. Those 3 together would go ahead and you would not bring any oxygen through to the process basins when you build them. The secondary clarifier rehabilitation and the new secondary clarifier, those 3 projects could be lumped together in anticipation of building the new plant. And then, as I said, moving the UV and an effluent pump station, that could also be done kind of ahead of time before you had to go to the full-blown nutrient removal process. And then if you look at the capital costs, level 1 and level 2, we put the common project elements in there. The MLE process is least expensive at about 32.7, whereas you go all the way to the 5-stage process, getting down to the lowest limits, and the lowest operation and maintenance costs is about 41.3 million. So we made our goal of getting the project costs down. And then real quick, last slide, if we look at the present worth alternate analysis, the numbers to the 2 sets of bars to the left are out of the Jacobs report. The blue bar is capital cost, the red bar is present worth analysis. So the option you guys selected is on the left, lagoons and spray fields. They had a 5-stage process in there which was within the 10% on a present worth basis, 5-stage. And then I put the 2 different options we came up with. Capital is the blue line and the red line is total present worth. As you can see, we're greater than the 10%, even if you go to the 5-stage process with the filters. And I used this for those 2 wastewater plant costs. I used the same operation and maintenance costs that Jacobs did, so that they would be comparable kind of an apples to apples. But still, even if we use their operation and maintenance costs, the present worth we came up with is greater than 10% if you keep the existing facilities there and expand them. And that, if we get to any questions.
Okay. Roger, did you want to summarize or anything for this, or just?
Well, the basic summary was on his last slide where he showed that not only is the capital cost for any of these alternatives less than the Jacobs capital cost, but of equal importance is that the present worth cost. Now, the present worth cost is, it's a number that you can use to, if you spend money for the next 20 years, you have a multiplier, you bring them all back to the same time frame, and then you can compare apples to apples for any of the costs. And the present worth cost on any of these were less than the Jacob present worth.
All right, well, there's some, I mean, certainly this is very technical and there's a lot of information in here, but a lot of it's very welcome information, and we appreciate that very much. We've had one or more sessions already of just special sessions in which work sessions concerning these types of things, and perhaps there will be one of those in the near future to try to assess all of these. And we have the handout, the summary that is being presented to us now, and we will take that into consideration, and we'll be considering this more in the future. We appreciate you sharing that information. Mr. Sneed, you have a question?
Yes, I've got a question for Mr. Lynn. Mr. Lynn, this contract was given to you back in March of 2014, or that's when we voted on it. It was supposed to be a 3-month contract. It's 18 months overdue. What happened in between that period of time?
Well, we got some of the data. The original idea was just to kind of do a quick technical memo format, and once we got into the meat of it, we thought, well, to do this properly, we've got to kind of do a little bit more. So we did.
Let me stop. Was there a change order involved, or were you still operating on the original contract?
Same budget.
Now, I went back and listened to the tapes from the original meeting, and the scope and of what the contract and what we thought our mission was in hiring your services was to evaluate the alternative to compare and provide Tennessee Department of Tennessee Department of Environmental as an alternative for land applications. I didn't really hear a whole lot about the sinkhole area, the 800 acres, and what kind of what we came up with on that feasibility. It was more or less just dismissed. Is that correct?
Well, I think the kind of what started that, and we looked. Well, I guess that we thought that alternative, because of all the sinkholes, was not really.
How many sinkholes are in the 800 area around there are you talking about?
I don't know. I've never.
So you reference sinkholes, but we don't know how many is out there in the 800 acres that's around the plant. Because right across the creek, there's a 400 or 500 acre farm that I'm pretty sure not too long ago was for sale, may still be for sale. And there's another 300 or 400 acres not too far away from the plant. I looked at it on satellite, and I grew up working on those farms, and I'm not seeing a tremendous amount of sinkholes when I worked on there as a teenager, and there's sinkholes everywhere. But if you do have a sinkhole, it doesn't close the whole project, just like the one in Coopertown. We don't know that they did proper site preparations under those lagoons, but we're referencing them as having collapsed. So I'm a little bit concerned that we're being led into not doing what would be environmentally encouraged by the Tennessee Department of Environment by doing land application, because we're being told about sinkholes that we don't really know what's out there. I thought that's what your job was going to do, make an assessment of sinkholes in a possible land application. But I've been hearing a lot discussed tonight in your presentation. You've given us a report on our existing facility. A lot of time was given to what we already know, some of us already knew about existing facility. And then toward the end, we touched on some upgrades. All of these figures are also based on the current level of water in Sulphur Fork Creek, is that correct? The water flow that's in the creek now. And it has been going down over the years, because I remember as a kid, you could go lots of places in the creek, it's over your head. The water level in that creek, I know from living here for 50 years, it's been going down. And we're not going to do anything but put more sewage into that creek, and that's why the Tennessee Department of Environment wants us to do land applications. It seems to be discouraged without any engineering reports on the land around it. It's just being dismissed. Is that true?
Well, I think it was looking at it, you were having to do land application because it was a little bit closer. It was close to the alternative of upgrading the plant. We looked at then, what can we do with the plant, maybe bring those costs down a little bit, and we did. That was our charge to look at.
Well,
because the option to upgrade the plant in the original report was still cheaper.
but we're making assumptions on doing the plant, assuming that we still have the same water flow, and that you mentioned that as we take the rainwater out of the water, you said that the concentrations will increase. And I'm thinking,
Insulin concentration.
right, but we're still going to have to add zinc, you said, or some copper, some things to take care of some other things that we can't take care of with this MLE process. So there's ongoing costs with that.
Mr. Sneed, I think we have the hour of 8 o'clock having been arrived, and we've still got a half a dozen items on this agenda. We're not here to settle this tonight. All we're doing is to hear a presentation. We also have received this document, which is going to take quite a bit of time, and I think we're going to need to schedule, as I mentioned, a workshop meeting in which we can talk about nothing but this. I don't think there's what they are doing is looking at alternatives, all options that will save money. But there's no decision to be made tonight. You've made your observations, and that's all well and good. But I think as the chair of this group, I represent the views of the others that we need to move on with this tonight. And if you have questions you want to ask, we can do that when we take it up in a serious mode. But we have spent about 35 to 40 minutes on this already.
Well, as you know, I've asked for a report months ago, and it was dropped in my lap about 2 minutes ago.
Same time it was dropped in mine.
Obviously, y'all don't have questions about this. It's a $74.3 million project. I would like to do a little bit more time on it than maybe some of the rest.
Well, we're not settling it tonight. Let's absorb the report, and then we'll move on. All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any other comments on this at this time? We're moving to 3.6. Ms. Fosnes, President of the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. I believe
The report.
that they receive all these drawings. This one may be slightly revised from, I'm not sure if it's included in what you got. We have been exploring for the past year the opportunity to put up a digital sign in Springfield that would be more affordable for our smaller businesses, our churches and nonprofit organizations to advertise in this kind of technology, the way most advertising is moving towards at an affordable rate. Currently, to advertise on the digital billboard that Lamar has erected on Tom Austin Highway is upwards of $1,000 a month. That is a price that simply is not affordable for most of the smaller businesses and some of the nonprofit groups that have events and causes. And it also is not really feasible for community events, things that the city is doing, things that the chamber is doing, things that other groups are doing, to advertise those things. So we have partnered with Uber Displays. They're a company out of Clarksville. We've been working with them, and they've been a chamber member for some time. They are working with chambers across the state of Tennessee to come up with alternatives for communities to have these kind of signs and make this kind of advertising affordable for their small businesses. We have located a piece of property on 431. It is about 1/8 of an acre parcel. It's completely inaccessible. It's bound by the Catholic Church property on one side and the Captain D's property on the other side, and of course the state right-of-way on the roadside. The property owners are willing to lease it to us to put up a sign like this. This would be a two-sided sign. It would be visible from 431 and from Memorial Boulevard. The chamber will manage the ads, sales for the sign. Uber Displays is going to pay for, construct, operate the sign, take care of the utilities, the insurance, all that sort of thing. And then the ad revenues will pay them back for that. And David Lee from Uber Displays is here. I knew that you would have some technical questions for him about what these signs are like, and so I'd like to ask him to come on up. We originally were looking at a 9x12 monument. The technology works better in this size, the one that I just passed out to you, and he'll explain why.
We had two options for the sign. One was a 9x12, and the other was a 6x16, basically. The 9x12 is a larger sign. We didn't feel like it would fit the monument style. We wanted to have something that was going to be located in the busiest part of the town, welcoming and telling people about the city, about the small businesses in the area. So there will be multiple signs on here. There's enough to advertise 30 ads on this sign. So the smallest of businesses could participate in this. We felt like the 6x16 would fit better with the area. It's a lesser cost. We can go with a higher resolution board if we go with the smaller board. Any questions?
Can I make a comment? You may. I guess I'm going to direct it. What is going to cost us as a city? Anything? Okay.
And we're asking you to approve this under a section of the code that is for community welcome signs. It's different from an advertising sign or a billboard. The chamber in the past had put up some signs, and they are pretty much all gone except for one that's out on 431 now. That sign is really in a state of disrepair. It hasn't been kept up. We expect that the widening of 431 is probably going to take it down anyway. And I'm not even sure if the chamber put those signs up. That was a long time ago. No.
Okay. Got a question, Mike. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Sneed.
This is setting a precedence for the city to open up billboard sign, which is currently prohibited right now, isn't it? To add any new billboard signage? Like, you can't add any more billboards.
Gina?
Is that right, Mark?
No, Gina here.
It's Gina's area.
Yeah, you can't add no new billboards as far as prohibited,
Right.
but as she stated, what our code does allow. I mean, currently, our new sign code allows for electronic signs, which you all passed just recently this year. And then also, this has been something that's been here for probably as long as I've been here. It's welcome signs, monument signs, or signs consisting of two poles supporting the face that are erected by government, jurisdictions, civic clubs, or chambers of commerce to welcome visitors to the community. Such signs shall be located on public right-of-way or private property adjacent to major roadways near the entrance to the city limits or other appropriate locations. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall approve the number, design, size, height, and location of all welcome signs before such signs are erected. All civic clubs shall be required to share, well, that doesn't apply because it's not a civic club, but that's where
the welcome signs are allowed in our zoning ordinance. But like I said,
But this-
staff cannot approve it.
This is not compliant with that code, because this is engaging in commerce to sell advertisement. This
Yes,
is
but,
not
yes, Mr. Sneed, but I do consider it a welcome sign because you've got Springfield, Tennessee at the bottom of it, and it is acknowledging that they are coming into the city of Springfield. And it's not only going to allow these businesses to advertise, but it's going to be free events, like what the pastor of Grace Baptist Church was just talking to you all about. Any of the baseball tournaments, anything that any organization is going to try to promote and help bring more commerce, more retail, more sales, whatever, more taxes to the city of Springfield.
But bottom line is it's not compliant with codes.
It is a welcome sign. So yes, it is compliant with those codes. If you're gonna when I look at a billboard, I look at what Lamar has on the side of the road. Lamar is not gonna take down their signs. The only thing that's gonna prevent Lamar from having any signs up is if a tornado takes them out and they're not gonna be able to put it back up. Because they do maintain them, they do, do all, like with their electronic, they do take care of all the electricity and everything like that. So,
Take out the Springfield at the bottom. Is that a compliant sign?
just a minute and I'll tell you. I'll do the calculation of what size.
One of the features of this project will be that there will be a certain number of advertising spots or slots on the rotation for community events, chamber events, community information. We've long talked about, actually this whole idea came about several years ago when a chamber member said that they wanted to erect a billboard so that we could put up signs about the positive things that are happening in Springfield, because we don't get that information out there very well.
Doesn't the people who currently have the digital billboards do a lot of that and like to do it because it's putting on good PR for them?
Are you talking about the Lamar sign?
No. Doesn't current businesses who
Michael
up and
White
down
does, yes. Mhm.
who have those boards, they are willing and they like to do that.
Mhm.
So it is getting out. The messages are getting out.
There are advertisements for events, yes.
But you are a 501c
Mhm.
and you are engaging in commerce, selling advertisement.
Mhm.
You will be making some commissions or money out of these, selling these ads.
The Chamber of Commerce engages in commerce quite often, actually. We sell advertising and marketing and sponsorships on a regular basis,
But you're a
yes.
tax-free organization, 501c, engaging in commerce to advertise against a commercial business, Lamar.
No, not to offer an alternative.
That would be a yes.
To answer your question, the size of the sign itself goes against code. The electronic does not. They could have gone to the Board of Zoning Appeals and asked for a variance for the size of this sign, but they would still have to come to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for their approval. So no, yes, it is against the code as far as size, but not as far as a monument sign.
If we let the 501 charity do it, engage in advertising and put up the sign, what about when Lamar comes to us and says, we want to put up a sign? That is our business. What are we gonna tell
Lamar
them?
has already come to us and has gone in and,
This is just one intersection. What if they say they want to do it too? You've opened up a whole
Lamar
can
is
of
a pole
worms.
sign. Lamar is a pole sign. It is not a monument sign.
You start cutting in their business, they'll be coming to this board asking us to put some more in.
You know, Mr. Sneed, I prefer to do my business here in Springfield. I don't do any business with Lamar. I don't even read their billboards hardly, but I would probably read this. But this is a monument sign. This is not a pole sign. And, I don't see where Lamar is probably going to say a whole lot about them cutting into their business because they make a whole lot more money than this is going to make.
All right, I'm going to stop this debate now.
You were
We've got
answering
Mr. Sneed.
questions about codes, but it seems that
Mr.
you're
Sneed.
advocating.
I answered your questions about code.
You are here asking for permission to erect this sign. Gina, is this proper because they went, is this improper because they came to us before going to the appeals board?
I took it as a welcome sign that has to be.
It has to come to us anyway. All right,
Yes.
that's all I need. All right, do we have a motion on this? I'm ready for a motion on it, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Make it brief, Mr. Sneed.
If this passes, you're setting precedents that it's okay to violate our sign ordinance because it's not compliant. And we just condemned the building because there were certain guidelines that were met and we didn't be compliant.
I believe when she read the code, it said that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen could approve the sign and construction of the sign. So it really doesn't, the other codes don't apply.
We're here to, well, we've got a motion, we've got a second. Our codes administrator has said that it is proper for them to ask for this. Let's vote our preference, yea or nay. If you favor this, vote aye. If you oppose, vote no.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Now, we are edging and fudging a little bit on our own.
They're saying that, Gina has said that they're going to have to come to us to get the approval even if the appeals board does approve it.
Which I understand. This is a very close call. Very close call.
Depends on how you look at it.
Sir?
I said it depends on how you look at it. I think it's clear what they're wanting to do. We either need to say yes or no. Now, we've got a motion on the floor, and we have a second. Paul?
Your own ordinance allows you to decide whether you're going to do this or not.
So let's just vote it, one way or the other. I'm not advocating for or against it. I'm saying it is clear what we're doing.
I'm understanding that, now I'm being careful with.
That's why I asked what I asked, okay?
How about a question?
Yes, sir.
Quick, brief. I'm gonna vote for this, I like it. But what keeps me from going to another end of town, erecting a sign that says Springfield, Tennessee, and putting my sign on top of it?
You'll have to ask folks.
See, that's what I'm saying. Those are things.
If you were going to another part of town and put up a sign advertising here, it would be an off-premise sign.
What keeps this from being an off-premise sign for any business that advertises it?
Because this code allows the Chamber of Commerce to put up this type of sign if the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approves it.
That's picking and choosing and playing favorites.
That's what it calls for. All right. It is, this is going to stop. We have had all the discussion we need. It is clear what the issue is. When you know it is clear, you don't like it, vote no. If you like it, vote yes. Stephanie, call the roll.
Snyder.
Aye.
Cornell.
Aye.
Gregg. Sneed.
No.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
I might have said no, because I'm not clear.
Pass 9-2.
All right, thank you. We move to item 3.7. Who is going to present that on the engineering services for the pumping station at Queen Anne Court? Mr. Ellis, you got that?
This is for engineering services to the second phase of the Queen Anne project, in which we now have a detention area there that'll hold a certain storm, and which is drained by sinkhole. So we're looking at putting
Another one of those 3,602 that's in this county.
Yes. And it could be more and there could be less. We don't ever know. Of course, this one did plug up a while back. But so what we're looking here is doing the engineering to set in a pump in this system that will not take this thing, it won't drain it out as it comes in. It's still going to fill up, but it will pump the water out. And we're wanting to pump the water. We looked at several different options. up towards the dog food plant, across the road into our detention pond that very few of y'all knows is there. It's, we have a 5-acre detention pond in behind the dog pound. It's off in that bottom there that we built in the late 90s using FEMA money. We looked at several places to pump it, but we feel like that's the best right now. And this is just for the engineering on this, not the construction or the bidding on this.
All right. And your recommendation is simply
to do the engineering?
To authorize the solicitation of engineering proposals?
No, we have a proposal
You
here
have
from
the proposal.
Gresham, because they did the pond. So they have already done a lot of the rainfall designs.
Okay.
And this will be the continuation on with that.
All right. All right, need a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? I need a second, excuse me.
Second.
I'm trying to speed things up, if you notice. But we do have to get a second. Paul?
I did want to say that it is in the capital improvement budget.
And stormwater.
Yes. Okay, any discussion?
Discussion is get ahead of that 100-year flood that might come back again.
Hearing none, call the roll.
Definitely want to go.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Cornell,
Aye.
Charter,
Aye.
Snyder, Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
Okay, do we have an appointment for the Board of Zoning and Appeals? This first one. Let's see what we got.
Mayor, the Alderman Gregg and Alderman Schneider need to make that a joint appointment, and I don't know if they have anybody yet.
We have an offer, but we don't have an answer.
Okay, we'll let that, we'll pass over that then, okay? And the Industrial Board?
That is an at-large appointment.
That would be
you
mine,
would have to make,
and I
and
don't
it's
have-
vacant, and it's got a couple years still left on the unexpired term.
All right, I'll try to have that one by the January meeting. All right, we now have item 3.10. This is to discuss and possibly act on a taxi franchise application for both Patriot Taxi and Springfield Taxi. You have the recommendations before you. Are we to approve them separately or for both?
You can approve them separately or together.
Is there any reason we shouldn't take them together? All right. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Call roll.
Head,
Yes.
Cornell,
Aye.
Charter,
Aye.
Snyder, Gregg,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Abstain, it pertains to
Your pocketbook.
That is proper.
pass 6-0, 1 abstain.
All right. All right, the next items, the change order on 311, 312, 313, and 314. All of these will be heard from Mr. Lee Masters and his monthly report. So do this as timely as you can. Let me know when you're ready for a vote on something.
Item 3.11 is the final change order for the wastewater treatment plant sludge basin construction. Final construction cost ended up about $207,995 under the contract price. I'm recommending change order 1 be approved.
It's ready.
Oh, come on.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Oh,
I'll
I'm
be
sorry, a
second.
motion to,
I'll
put
be
it on
second.
form. Yeah,
Mr. Gregg, was that you or Mr. Sneed?
made the motion, a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Any discussion? Ready for the vote?
Charter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Snyder,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
and Cornell. Okay, pass 6-0.
Okay. Roger.
Item 3.12 is a companion request for the payment of final payment for that same wastewater treatment plant sludge basin for $58,829. This will be basically returning retainage to them. We had a 5% retainage withheld on every pay request, and this would be basically zeroing the thing out.
Okay. A motion, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, ready for the roll call.
Sneed. Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Snyder.
Aye.
Charter.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
3.13.
3.13, we have a contract with Griggs and Maloney. I came to the board several months ago because of the existing wastewater pump, water pump station at the Mount Denson treatment, Mount Denson pump station has to be expanded. If we were to get all of our water from Logan Todd, the existing pump station could not do it. So Griggs and Maloney is in the design phase. We have an existing SCADA. Now, SCADA is supervisory control and data acquisition. This is a system that the folks at our water plant, by way of radios at each of our water tanks and each of our pump stations, get information on how much water is in the tanks, how much if the pumps are on or off, this sort of stuff. Radios are an obsolete technology. They fail frequently. The new pump station will have to be able to talk with the Logan Todd folks. Now, Logan Todd has a cell phone-based SCADA system. What we're recommending and what Griggs and Maloney has determined is that if we had cell phone at our pump station to talk with Logan Todd, it would be incompatible with the radio pump station, radio SCADA system, retro system. So basically, this is a modification to Griggs and Maloney's contract to do the engineering to design a cell phone-based SCADA system for our entire water system.
Okay. I'd like to get this on